4,800 units of these were sold in under 120 seconds. I totally missed out on buying that, but the second batch I kept an eagle eye out for the same. Now the thing is, I'm sure the second batch also sold out as quickly as the first batch did. Hype for these earphones is what led to that kind of demand. So today's question is, can these earphones live up to their massive expectations? Hi guys, and welcome to another episode. And if you are one of the many who didn't get their hands on the Nothing Ear ones, I feel for you. But maybe, just maybe, these earphones aren't quite for you. Stick around to find out if they are. The case, as you know, is like Caitlyn Jenner to Kim Kardashian. Transparent. It's not the first transparent case I've seen for earphones, but like a banana, it's got appeal. The overall attention to detail on the case and earphones is exceptional for the price they're being sold at. It's got a polished metal hinge that's spring-loaded at the back. It works like a charm each time, but I'm not quite a fan of the snap it makes every time you close it. When light hits the case from certain angles, it lights up like all the colors of the rainbow. It's really good looking from any angle you look at it from. There's an indentation on the case which makes you want to use it as a fidget spinner. And if you notice the other two indentations, you'd be wrong to think that these are from the outside of the case. These are actually spaces made for the earphones to sit properly on the inside without getting pressed by the case's lid. The entire case is a smooth, clear plastic finish, while the inner white plastic that's inaccessible is textured with little dimples. In my first impressions, I did think that this would pick up scratches, but didn't think they'd pick them up this quickly. The underside of the case is already showing quite a few scratches, and I've barely moved these around. They've only been on my soft desk mat for the past few days, so expect the case to scratch up further in time. The earphone stems are also see-through, adding a bit of that novelty to them, and they're also quite compact. You barely realize you're wearing them thanks to how compact they feel, and they also just weigh in at a mere 4.7 grams per earbud. The bulb of the earphones are a glossy white. No see-through fancy fare going on there. The ear tips are a soft silicone material that feel quite comfortable. I've been using the medium-sized tips and haven't really found the need to swap to the smaller or larger ones. I do like that these are not in-ear earphones. I prefer this design to those any day. It doesn't feel intrusive as it just sits comfortably on the outside of your ear canal. You know the build is good when it's got an IPX4 rating, which is basically splash and sweat resistant, and I trust that they truly are resistant to those, because when you observe these at a close range, you can tell the attention to detail is immaculate. These have wireless charging, and the first thing that caught my eye was the speed of it. Not the speed of charge, but how quickly it responds to being put on a wireless pad. I've used my phone and other sets of earphones on wireless chargers, and they usually take a second or so to respond and give you an acknowledgement. These are almost immediate. Bluetooth version 5.2 is loaded on these, which should ensure a more stable connection than older renditions. These earphones can connect to multiple devices, but not simultaneously. They remember the last connected device, so will connect to them quite promptly when you open the case. But if you want to use another previously connected device, you will have to go into its settings and connect to the earphones from there. What you may find a bit odd if you're into this is that they do not have voice assistant support. Then again, it's not something I use myself, so I don't really feel like this feature is missing. Something to keep in mind if you're gifting these to an older relative, parent or friend is that these earphones can work perfectly fine without the app. So if you're worried about them learning how to use that app, it's not something you should worry about. But having said that, the app does unlock a certain array of features. Like it will tell you each bud and case's battery level. Through the app, you can customize the noise cancelling levels from light to maximum. You can switch it to transparency mode or keep these settings off altogether. You have an EQ which is quite limited, and I'll speak about it in the chapter about sound. You can customize a triple tap as well as press and hold gesture controls. Double tapping on either bud pauses or plays your content, and my favorite, swiping up or down on either bud raises or lowers your volume. Tapping and holding either bud will toggle between NC transparency mode and off completely. Apart from being packed with all this, these touch controls are quite sensitive, so you don't have to smack at your earbuds. These respond really well with a gentle double or triple tap. It's entirely up to you if you want the earbuds to auto pause and play whenever you take the earphone in or out of your ear, because the in-ear detection is something you can switch off or on. Find My Buds is a neat feature. If one of these buds has slipped between some cushions, it plays a rather shrill tone, so you'll be able to locate them if they're within Bluetooth range. Noise cancelling is impressive. It's able to knock out humming or drone sounds by quite a bit. So I usually put these on if I've upset my wife recently.
How long does the battery last?
Long enough. Fan motor noises, engine noises and AC hums. It manages to isolate and reduce significantly. If you haven't ever used noise cancelling earphones or headphones in the past, this might freak you out a little bit in the start. You can also toggle between the light and maximum settings in the app. Transparency mode does a very weird playback of your surroundings to you. It's basically playing back everything to you the microphones are picking up. So while writing this script out on my mechanical keyboard, I could barely hear the clickety-clack with the NC on. But with the transparency mode on, it's almost as if I've got my ears up against the keys while typing. The mics picking up all the sounds around seem to be quite sensitive, because I'm pretty sure with the transparency mode on, I could hear myself blink. It pushes mid-tones through more than highs and lows, so you can hear and have a conversation with someone nearby. Nothing says they use something called clear voice technology, which helps isolate your voice over the rest of the surroundings. These earphones come with 3 high-definition microphones so as to make your voice as clear as possible for your recipient. So I'm calling from the usual crowded street I usually stand next to, just to give you that sense of airiness and the noise around me. There is a bit of traffic and some construction going on in the back. So it will be a good way to check and see if Nothing's AI will be able to eliminate the surroundings and amplify my voice to you. I will be switching over to the recorded audio rather than the camera just about now, so that you can tell the difference between the two. Judging by how good the noise cancelling is on these, I think that algorithm should be similar to the one that's being used right now for the calls. It should be able to reduce it significantly, but this is something you need to decide whether or not it's good enough for you and for your recipient to hear you back. Now, the one thing I do want to check is what a lot of people do is to stretch their call time is they usually just use one earbud at a time. So I'm going to switch from just using 2 earbuds to just the one, and maybe you can see if there's a difference. I've never tried this before, so it'll be interesting to see the result. So now I'm just using the one earbud. I don't know if it will really affect the call quality, but it will be interesting to see. So just as I was about to upload the video, I realized that there was a new firmware for these earphones, specifically addressing a lot of the call issues. So I said I might as well update the firmware and do a comparison. So what you heard before was the earlier firmware. This, what you're hearing right now, is the latest firmware. And you can do a back-to-back and see if this is better. I assume it should be a bit better than the previous one. So clearly Nothing is listening to their customers and are trying to make minor improvements over time, which is showing that they're being proactive, which is a very good sign for this new company. And I will switch to just using one earphone because I did that a few moments ago, just to see if it makes a difference as it did last time. So it's clearly up to you if you decide or think that this is better than the previous recording, and if it's good enough for you and your recipient for those phone calls. So I'll see you back in the studio. Nothing has crammed in an 11.6 mm dynamic driver into each of these earbuds. That's a good size driver, but a larger driver doesn't necessarily translate to better sound. Codecs supported are AAC and SBC. In other words, AAC can transfer up to 264 kbps and SBC does up to 328 kbps. So it's pretty clear you cannot expect high-res audio on these. On a volume front, I've not really found the need to go beyond 50 or 60% with these. They are loud enough right there with noise cancelling on at maximum. Detail and depth is retained rather well at lower volumes as well. Amping isn't something you should worry about with these earphones. Soundstage on these is like most earphones in this category. The sound is restricted within your head with a few tones giving the illusion of coming from a little further out. Separation between left and right channel is quite good. Vocals tend to sit slightly behind the rest of the music, but stay dead center thanks to a good phantom channel. Depending on the recording you're listening to, there is a good left to right spread of stage with instruments. These do have a good horizontal stage for what they're worth. Imaging has a better approach than staging for certain. Listening to Mumford & Sons' I Will Wait lets you distinguish very well between each voice while they harmonize. Each instrument, be it percussion, strings, reed, brass or voice, stand out defined in its own detail, and these earphones make picking out certain nuances effortless. These shouldn't be this good at this price point, but here we are. Crisp, tight and natural sounding is how highs are delivered to you. They are anything but shrill and come at you with a soft, embracing approach. Listening to Roop Kumar Rathod's Maula Mere Maula from the movie Anwar makes me believe in good recordings from the 90s. The intro to this song has sparkles and shimmers which originate in the center, then decay gently into the right and left channel in a very composed and calm manner. It's difficult to find anything wrong with the highs. The soft cymbal hits of Artemis's Cry Buttercup Cry and muted trumpets also show how effortlessly these can push out highs without making them sound harsh. Instruments and vocals in the mid frequencies tend to sit slightly behind the rest of the frequencies, but it's not too bad. It does seem to have a slight V-shaped setting, but if you're listening to acoustic music though, vocals and instruments sit on the same plane and don't have that slight disconnect. Stevie Nicks singing Landslide almost sounds like she's right there in an open room singing straight at you. While listening to Foreigners' I Want to Know What Love Is, right at the chorus, you're greeted with the voices of the New Jersey Mass Choir, and boy do they add the goosebumps at the right time. Their voices come through with power, delicacy and skill. There were many reasons this specific number was #1 pop hit in February of 1985, and these earphones help showcase some of those reasons. Vocals come at you silky smooth, and both female and male stay true to the tonality of the artist. Before I speak about more modern songs, lower frequencies, allow me to speak about Maula Mere Maula one more time. The bass kicks in at about 49 seconds into the song. And up until that point, you think these earphones can and only do well with highs. But this sudden introduction of depth here cradles you into a sense of relaxation, making you forget about the rest of the world and just enjoy the music. The bass isn't a bare-handed punch to the face. It's more of a soft, warm hug from an old friend. It's composed as if it's preparing itself for the next delivery. Some people may not appreciate the way these handle their bass, but I think they are beautifully balanced. There is an accentuation at the lower end of the bass frequency, which helps with a little bit of kick. Listening to Cold Heart, the Blessed Madonna remix by Elton John and Dua Lipa, I'm reminded of what nightclubs would sound like. There's a lot of bass thumping here, and these earphones do a great job with exaggerated bass too. Just a big FYI, I have listened to these and reviewed them on their balanced mode. The EQ modes that this does have is more treble, which does as it says, it accentuates the treble. Then there's more bass, which does as it says, it accentuates the bass. There is an accentuation in the bass in this EQ mode, but it tends to eat into the mids a lot. So if you're listening to any vocal tracks rather than dance music, you'll find a lot of the vocals being muddled. Then of course there is a voice mode which does as it says. It sounds more like it's an inverted V-shape EQ setting, because anything from the mids to the bass are brought completely down and the mids are completely accentuated. This I see people using, especially if they listen to a lot of audiobooks. So to answer my question, do these earphones live up to their massive expectations? I'd say definitely yes. Nothing has put in a lot of homework into these and turned out a product, that too their first product, which is terrifically good. It's the attention to detail for the smaller things that has made the overall product that much nicer to own. My hats off to the guys at Teenage Engineering for the tuning of these earphones. They found a sweet spot for their balanced mode, and I don't see myself using any other sound profile while listening to music. Now, having said that, there is something you have to keep in mind, much like I did. These earphones go for 5,999 here in India, and that price is bound to come down over time. So these have been judged solely based on their price range. I've thrown some classical music at these with a lot more data in them, but clearly it'll bottleneck because they only do SBC and AAC. But when it tries to play that kind of music, it does buckle at the knees. It's not able to keep up, almost like it's distorting. Now, these are perfectly fine for music, for soft rock, a lot of dance music, a lot of modern music is perfectly fine for these. If you are looking to listen to something more like classical and more high-res audio, you definitely need a more hi-fi audiophile setup. So I decided to check and see how good or bad the latency was, because there's no mention of it anywhere, and I do get a lot of people who are gamers who do want to know that. There's no real way I can test it out, but what I did do is go onto YouTube and check out my go-to track, which is Don't Stop Now by Pomplamoose. It's a cover of Dua Lipa's, and there is definitely a slight delay while watching that. There is a lip sync issue over there, so I'm pretty sure if you're a gamer, you are not going to appreciate that delay. For movie watching, however, the delay isn't too severe. It's more like the words come out lingering just when you see the action happen. So you can get used to it. It's not really that bad. All in all, considering this is Nothing's very first product, it looks quite promising. I would definitely recommend it, not just for the novelty of it having a see-through case and see-through earphones, but also when it comes to the sound. I think it could be the best sounding earphones in its class, and going forward, I think that this should be the footprint for sound for most earphones coming out in the future. And of course, if you like the content on my channel, remember to like and subscribe, click the bell icon for future notifications, and thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice. Nothing says they use something called... So to answer my question, do these earphones really live up to their massive explanations? Hell yeah! So to answer my question, do these earphones live up?
Oh my god, just answer your question.
You want to sit here and do this? Don't smile, you can't do this.
Better than you.
You proud of that one?